Welcome to the Heart of Mastery, where we embark on incredible journeys into the core of what makes us human. Have you ever felt like the world is just, well, constantly shifting beneath your feet?
Oh, absolutely. It's like one moment you're navigating ancient traditions, right?
Yeah, and the next you're grappling with some, super cutting edge technology, all at the same time.
It really can feel like juggling multiple realities.
Yeah.
And honestly, it can be pretty disorienting, can it?
Totally. It's a sentiment I think many people share. That feeling of being kind of overwhelmed by all this change, this cacophony of conflicting perspectives.
It really is perhaps the defining characteristic of our modern era. The forces shaping our lives. I mean, from the smallest personal decision right up to these huge global events, they often feel like this undecipherable storm.
Right, leaving you wondering if there's any sense to be made of it all.
But what if there was? What if there was a hidden pattern to all this, well, this beautiful, bewildering chaos? Maybe a profound blueprint that could help us not just cope, but actually master these complexities.
And that's precisely the mastery we're diving into today. We're exploring a really powerful framework known as spiral dynamics.
Yes, spiral dynamics, it's quite something.
Now, let's be clear right from the start. This isn't some simplistic, types of people model or one of those feel-good approaches that just glosses over real differences saying, oh, everyone's beautiful.
No, it's far more rigorous than that. It's really about understanding the very fabric of human thought, of motivation. Think of it more like a highly sophisticated toolkit.
A toolkit, I like that.
Yeah, meticulously forged from decades of really rigorous research, extensive real-world application across so many diverse fields, business, geopolitics,
Wow, okay.
and even drawing on insights from things like neurobiology. It's less about labeling individuals, putting them in boxes.
Right.
And more about discerning these underlying, often invisible forces at play within us or all around us.
And what's really fascinating, I think, is how it incorporates concepts like memes, not internet memes, obviously.
No, definitely not cats playing pianos. This comes from the biologist Richard Dawkins from his book, The Selfish Gene.
Ah, okay.
It brings this fresh, vibrant language to what used to be called, more academically, things like value systems or levels of psychological existence.
Right, so it updates the language.
Exactly. And it's considered one of the three major breakthroughs in managing complexity. It stands right alongside profound concepts like systems theory and chaos theory.
That's some serious company.
It really is. Spiral dynamics offers this unique lens, a way to view human evolution, providing insight into how our minds adapt, evolve, and sometimes, even regress in response to different life conditions.
So it goes deeper than just describing what people do.
Much deeper. It delves into the often hidden reasons why they think, feel, and act the way they do, the underlying drivers.
Okay, so our mission in this deep dive is pretty ambitious then. We're going to unpack the core principles of spiral dynamics, right?
We are. We'll explore its 8 fascinating VM systems, each with its own distinct color and really its own unique way of seeing reality.
And understand how they emerged, how they evolve.
Yes, and discover how this knowledge can fundamentally change how you navigate personal change, how you lead effectively in organizations, and ultimately how you make far more sense of this turbulent world around you.
We need that. And we'll use real-world examples, anecdotes, maybe even get a few aha moments along the way.
That's the plan. Hopefully it brings these abstract concepts to life. Let's begin unlocking this path to mastery.
All right, let's start at the very heart of this framework. What exactly are VMIMs? It's a term you might not have encountered before, but it sounds absolutely central.
It is. At their core, VMEMs, or value memes, are fundamental, deeply embedded meaning systems. You can also think of them as core intelligences.
Intelligences?
Or even as basic packages of thought, motives, and instructions. They dictate how we make decisions, how we prioritize our lives, and what we actually deem important. They're kind of like the operating system for our very being.
Okay, so it's not about what specific beliefs you hold, like being a Republican or Democrat or believing this or that doctrine. Exactly.
But the underlying structure, the fundamental logic of how you arrive at those beliefs, that seems like a really profound distinction.
It is. You could have two individuals with, say, diametrically opposed religious or political views, yet they might be operating from the very same VMEO.
Really? How does that work?
Well, their content is different, the specific doctrines, the policies, the interpretations, but their decision-making framework, the underlying VME intelligence, is strikingly similar, almost identical.
Wow. So their conflict would be about the contents of their beliefs, not the deep structure of how they think.
Precisely. It's like two different computer programs running on the same operating system. They might produce wildly different outputs, different results, but the underlying architecture is shared.
That's fascinating.
These VMEs are, in a very real sense, like, well, the authors call them parallel life forms that circulate deep within human systems, often below our conscious awareness.
Parallel life forms. That's a mind-bending thought. These invisible forces shaping our reality, and they exert immense, often unseen power over our lives.
And these VMs aren't static, right? They don't just appear and stay fixed forever. They interact with something you mentioned earlier, life conditions.
Exactly. Life conditions, or LCs. They are the crucible, really, in which VMs emerge and evolve.
Okay, what counts as a life condition?
Well, they encompass historic times, the era we live in, the geographic place where we are physically, the existential problems we face, survival threats, social issues, and the broader societal circumstances.
Got it. So the whole context.
Yes. And here's where it gets really interesting.
Mm-hmm.
VMs don't just emerge, they brighten and dim, like a dimmer switch in response to these changing LCs.
A dimmer switch.
It's
Yeah.
dynamic two-way street, a constant interplay between our intricate nervous systems and the demands of the world around us.
So, let me see if I get this. You could have two people living in the same year, literally breathing the same air. Yet their fundamental ways of thinking, their core operating systems, could be rooted in incredibly different eras. Because their individual or group life conditions might be activating totally different VMEs.
You've got it. That explains so much about why we see such vastly different worldviews coexisting, often with a lot of friction, in what seems like a single shared reality.
It's like they're living in different centuries simultaneously.
Precisely. It's why, say, a tech-savvy entrepreneur in a bustling global city and a traditional elder in a remote, self-sufficient community both alive today, in 2024,
Yeah.
can perceive and navigate reality in profoundly different ways.
Their fundamental operating systems are just calibrated differently.
To entirely different sets of LCs, activating distinct VM. Yeah,
And this leads us to another core idea, what's often described as the pendulum swing of human progress. This back and forth between me and we focus, you can almost feel it in society, right?
oh, definitely.
Okay.
This is a foundational dynamic of the spiral. It's like a kind of internal gyroscope keeping things balanced over time.
Yeah.
Where we observe this pendulum-like alternation between self-expressive, internally controlled me VMs, those are beige, red, orange, and yellow, and the self-sacrificing, externally anchored we VMs, which include purple, blue, green, and turquoise.
So if a society, or even just me as an individual, gets too focused on meism, too much individual gain, personal liberty above all else, the problems that inevitably pop up from that imbalance create a natural pressure to swing back towards weaviness, to restore some equilibrium.
And vice versa. If that we becomes too oppressive, too stifling, inhibiting individual expression or innovation,
Then the pendulum swings back, liberating more of the me.
it's like the spiral has its own built-in self-correcting mechanism. It's an absolutely essential dance for continuous evolution.
The authors use an analogy, don't they? Something about a seashell.
They do. Imagine a weight swinging inside a spiral seashell. As the weight moves towards one side, say extreme individualism, that very movement generates the conditions, the problems that necessitate a pull from the other side, say toward community focus.
Not to cancel out the first side, but to maintain balance.
To maintain the spiral's dynamic health and ensure its continued upward evolving trajectory. This inherent oscillation prevents stagnation and actually fuels increasing complexity.
And that increase in complexity, it isn't just a simple straight line upwards, is it? Like level 1, level 2, level 3, done.
No, not at all. These thinking systems emerge from lesser to greater sophistication, building upon what came before, yes. But they don't just replace each other cleanly, like software updates wiping the old version.
That's a really critical point, isn't it? Because people sometimes misunderstand that.
It is, and it's often misunderstood. VMs coexist. They exist as intricate mixtures within individuals, within organizations, even within entire societies.
Okay, give me an example.
Sure, you might encounter someone who is, say, predominantly green-oriented, focused on community, consensus, harmony in their daily life, really cares about connection.
Okay, sounds nice.
But then you might see them activate a really raw, power-seeking red A aspect when they're fiercely competitive in, I don't know, sports match.
Right. Or maybe calculating in strategic orange during a high-stakes business meeting.
Exactly. They call upon that achievement-oriented orange perspective. It's like we all carry this full palette of colors, or maybe a multi-tool in our mind.
Yeah, a multi-tool. I like that better than palette.
Okay, a multi-tool. And certain situations or life conditions instinctively bring different tools or colors to the forefront.
And what's truly fascinating, and maybe a bit confusing, is that different VMs can actually line up to support the same issue, right? Even if their reasons are totally different.
Absolutely. Or, conversely, people with essentially the same VMA decision-making framework can disagree violently over the superficial details of their beliefs.
Because the content clashes, even if the underlying container of the VME is the same.
Precisely. Understanding that profound difference between content and container is absolutely vital for navigating the often perplexing complexities of human interactions, and for finding common ground where maybe none seems to exist on the surface.
This complexity also leads us to the grand concept of tiers of development. Not just a continuous spectrum, but maybe distinct, profound leaps in human consciousness and capacity.
Yes. VMs tend to cluster in groups, marking these significant leaps. The first tier includes beige right through to green.
Okay, the first 6 colors.
Right. These represent what we call subsistence level concerns. Think of this as the first stage of a multi-stage rocket.
Okay, getting us off the ground.
Exactly. It blasts off with immense raw power, focused on fundamental survival, establishing safety, creating order, driving initial progress. It's the foundational operating system that has guided so much of human history.
And then after that initial thrust, there's a whole different level, a second stage burn with the second tier.
Yeah.
This sounds like a really different kind of journey.
It is. The second tier encompasses yellow and turquoise. This tier marks a profound elaboration of our thinking, a real conceptual leap.
So it's not just about becoming better people in a moral sense.
No, not necessarily better in that way, but accessing fundamentally different kinds of minds. These minds are equipped to understand and integrate the complexities and paradoxes of the first tier in a way that allows for grander, more holistic understanding and truly systemic problem solving.
Wow. So if the first tier rocket gets us off the ground and into orbit.
The second tier is where we start fine-tuning our trajectory, exploring entirely new conceptual landscapes, and really seeing the entire galaxy of human potential. It's an amazing framework for looking at both individual growth and societal evolution.
Okay, brilliant. Now that we've got the basic architecture, the blueprint of spiral dynamics down, let's embark on that guided tour through each of the 8 VMMs.
Let's do it.
And for each one, I want you to imagine we're sitting down with someone deeply embodying that VMM, and we ask them just genuinely, what is life all about?
Okay, I can picture that.
And as we journey through these mindsets, I really encourage you, our listener, to reflect. Which of these really resonates with how you see the world, or maybe how you've seen others operate? You might even feel a little jolt of recognition.
All right, let's start at the very beginning of the spiral with BAG, or survival sense. This is the instinctive VME, the sort of primal hum beneath everything else.
Primal hum, I like that.
Its core theme is pure, unadulterated survival, automatic, reflexive.
Like your deepest, most primal brain just screaming for the basics. You know, imagine you're lost in the wilderness, no phone, no comfy bed. Your stomach might start talking to you in a way you haven't heard since you were a baby.
Huh. Yeah.
Just a raw, unignorable, hey, we're out of cookies down here. Find food, find warmth, now, Elf.
That's a perfect picture of it. Characteristics include the automatic reflexive satisfaction of those basic biological needs: hunger, thirst, warmth, safety. There's very little self-awareness here, minimal environmental control. It's truly living off the land in its most basic form.
Where do we actually see this pure BAG today? It seems basic.
You see it clearly in infancy, obviously, also in severe senile deterioration, unfortunately, and ancient food-gathering cultures, historically, and chillingly, in people under extreme, life-threatening stress.
Like survival situations, war zones.
Exactly. People experiencing regression under that intense pressure. It's the starting point for all of us, and sadly, many also exit life through it. And tragically, a lack of stimulation or severe malnutrition can trap youngsters here, limiting their access to more complex ways of thinking later on. It's the foundation, often invisible in our modern lives, but always present underneath.
Okay, so from that individual just trying to make it through the night, purely instinctively, we then see the dawn of connection, of community with purple. Or kin spirits. This is the clannish VME where belonging becomes absolutely paramount.
Yes, the core theme here shifts to safety and security, But now it's found through deep trust in blood relationships, the extended family, the clan, and also critically in the profound, often mystical power of ancestors or nature spirits.
Ah, so magic and spirits enter the picture.
Absolutely. Characteristics include obeying mystical spirits, a strong allegiance to elders, sacred customs, and the clan itself. There's a real reverence for sacred places, objects, rituals. They seek harmony with nature, seeing it as alive with powerful forces.
And things like nepotism, that's just normal.
Not just normal, it's often seen as a moral imperative, a duty to care for your own kin above all others.
Okay, so we're talking about ancient tribal societies, maybe cultures that created those incredible cave paintings or totem poles.
Precisely. You still see its strong echoes today in many indigenous groups who maintain powerful connections to their land and traditions. The source material mentions a Sangoma in Africa, a traditional healer whose power comes from this connection.
And even in our modern lives, right? Think about those cherished family heirlooms that feel almost sacred. Or those little superstitions we have knocking on wood, avoiding black cats.
Good examples. Or even the wild, almost ritualistic costumes and parades of things like Mardi Gras. Those are powerful echoes of purpley energy.
It's a world where you feel deeply connected, almost like, okay, here's an analogy, like your very nerves are tiny, intuitive messengers riding bikes through your body, connecting you to the collective memory and shared emotions of your people.
I like that messengers on bikes. It captures that felt sense of connection. It's a feeling of spirits everywhere, a world alive with meaning and unseen forces.
So what's the real significance of purpley?
Its intense focus on in-group versus out-group dynamics is key. It provides immense belonging and safety within the group, but it can also lead to deep distrust or even violent conflict with outsiders who aren't part of the kin.
The US versus them mentality really starts here.
It does, and there's often a real profound loss of ancient purpley wisdom, that intuitive connection to nature, to community rhythm with modernization, as these deep connections fade in favor of more rational or individualistic ways of being.
Okay, next up, the energy shifts dramatically. We get this raw, unbridled, almost explosive power of Redi, or power gods. This is the Edo-centric VMimi, where individual might is everything.
The core theme is straightforward. Almost a roar. Life is a jungle, and it's survival of the fittest. It's good to be strong, it's good to be a have, and you take what you want.
Assert your dominance.
Exactly. Characteristics include immediately gratifying impulses, see it, want it, take it, fighting remorselessly without guilt or regret, fiercely avoiding shame, defending your reputation and honor at all costs, seeking absolute domination.
And consequences. Not really a concern.
Very little worry about future consequences.
Yeah.
It's all about the here and now, asserting your will, being the top dog.
The classic make my day attitude personified. You see this so clearly in the terrible twos in children, right?
Yeah.
Where their will is absolute law.
Textbook already. Or in the brutal reigns of historical warlords and ancient empires, think Attila the Hun. Even today, in the defiant assertion of street gangs, the source mentions a Dallas street kid whose whole world was about power and respect.
And you see it in pop culture too, like the wild, untamed antics of some rock stars maybe, or that book, Lord of the Flies.
Absolutely. William Golding's Lord of the Flies is practically a case study in Redi dynamics, showing how quickly individuals can regress to this raw state when external order just disappears.
It feels liberating in its raw, unfiltered expression, but also incredibly primal and, well, often destructive.
It is, and a key point here is that Redi stubbornly resists any power over it. It doesn't learn through punishment in the way, say, BLUE does.
Really? Punishment doesn't work.
In fact, punishment can often reinforce its defiance, make it dig in deeper, see it as just another power play to overcome. We often see a surge in Red when purpur family or communal structures break down, leaving individuals feeling exposed and needing to assert themselves through brute force or intimidation. It's a powerful force, but one that desperately needs something to contain it, to channel it.
And that need for order, for structure, for a grander purpose beyond just personal power brings us directly to BLE, or Truth Force. This is the purposeful VME.
Yes. The core theme of BLE is that life has profound meaning, clear direction, and a predetermined purpose, often guided by a divine plan, a sacred text, or an unshakable set of absolute principles.
So there's one right way.
Essentially, yes.
Yeah.
It's about sacrificing the self, or at least individual desires and impulses, to a transcendent cause, a higher authority, or the one true way. Characteristics include an insistence on rigid order that enforces a code of conduct based on these absolute principles.
Rules and regulations become really important.
Crucial. Righteous living is believed to bring stability now and guarantee future reward, often in an afterlife. Impulsivity, that red D energy, is controlled through deep-seated guilt. And laws, regulations, strict discipline are seen as vital for building character and maintaining civilization itself.
Okay, so you can picture mission statements almost carved in stone. This feels like the deep foundations of, say, Puritan America or the disciplined structure of Confucian China.
Exactly. Or the unwavering faith of Hasidic Judaism, the moral earnestness you see in Dickensian England. Think of organizations like the Boy Scouts or Girl Scouts, with their codes and pledges. Or, more intensely, Islamic fundamentalism. The source gives the example of a West Point cadet, embodying that discipline and duty.
There's a profound sense of duty here, a clear path, and a grand, overarching plan that provides ultimate meaning. It's all about absolute truth.
BLUE is absolutely necessary to stabilize the chaos and rampant individualism often left in the wake of Uridi dominance. It brings structure, a sense of shared purpose, the foundation for long-term planning for civilization building.
But it has a downside too, doesn't it? It can get stuck.
Oh, definitely. It can become rigid, oppressive, dogmatic. There's a tendency for rules to become ends in themselves, leading to inflexibility, intolerance for deviation, a stifling of creativity or critical thought that questions the established order.
Okay. And when that rigid order becomes too stifling, when the absolute truths feel too constricting, too limiting, that's when we leap into the vibrant, dynamic world of Orange, or Strive Drive. This is the strategic VME.
Exactly. Orange's core theme is all about achieving, winning, getting ahead in life. It's the pursuit of the good life, material abundance, personal success, making your mark on the world.
The individual strikes back, but in a different way than Red.
In a much more strategic, long-term focused way. Characteristics include a strong drive for autonomy, independence, self-reliance. Progress is pursued relentlessly through seeking out the best solutions, often based on logic, evidence, science, and technology.
Competition is key here, right?
A deep love for competition, yes. A desire to play to win, and a strong belief in learning through tried and true experience, combined with calculated risk-taking. Innovation and progress are the absolute watchwords.
This feels very familiar. This is the driving force behind Wall Street, isn't it? The aspirational glitz of rodeo drive, the vibrant energy of emerging middle classes everywhere, bold entrepreneurship.
Absolutely. You could almost hear someone operating from Orange saying, with a confident grin, run it up the flagpole and see who salutes. Life is seen as this grand competitive game to be mastered and won. Ingenuity and strategic thinking pave the way to success. The Singapore businessman example in the source material captures this relentless drive perfectly.
It drives so much of our modern world.
It really does. Orange drives tremendous innovation, economic growth, technological advancement. It has lifted countless people out of poverty and created unprecedented levels of abundance in many ways.
But
There's always a but.
it can also lack conscience sometimes. It can lead to a singular focus on self-interest, on the bottom line, potentially resulting in loneliness, environmental exploitation, or a disregard for broader social or ethical impacts, if those aren't part of the winning strategy. It's a powerful engine, absolutely, but one that, left unchecked, can generate significant unintended consequences. Right, which brings us searching for balance, maybe. A deeper sense of connection. That's exactly what the next VMME tries to find amidst the sometimes cold, competitive drive of orange, green, or human bond. This is the relativistic VMA.
You nailed it. The core theme here is to seek peace within oneself and to explore, together with others, the caring dimensions of community. It's about freeing the human spirit from what it sees as the evils of greed, dogma, hierarchy, and divisiveness.
So it's reacting against both the rigidity of BLE and the perceived heartlessness of orange.
Very much so. Characteristics include a deeply relativistic worldview, meaning there are no absolute truths, everything is seen in context, many perspectives are valid, consensus, shared feelings, and empathy become paramount. There's a strong embrace of diversity, human rights, social justice, and often deep ecology.
And then the focus shifts.
The focus shifts from individual achievement to personal satisfaction, derived from collective well-being, emotional connection, and belonging to a caring community.
Everything and everyone is beautiful in his, her, or its own way. That feels like the absolute anthem of green, doesn't it?
It really does capture the vibe. Imagine environmental activists, animal rights campaigners, the humanitarian efforts exemplified by figures like Jimmy Carter, Companies like Ben and Jerry's built on explicitly ethical principles.
Social services, maybe.
Yes, the vibrant social services networks found in places like Minneapolis, as mentioned in the source. Or the London social activist example, always finding a new cause to champion, uniting people around shared feelings and ideals. It's often fuzzy, highly communitarian, deeply sensitive, and empathetic.
But green has its challenges too, right? It's not all smooth sailing and group hugs.
No, definitely not. A major challenge for green is its susceptibility to groupthink. That fervent need for harmony and consensus can sometimes suppress individual accountability, necessary conflict, or critical feedback because it feels disruptive.
So decisions might take forever, or tough issues get avoided.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It can also lead to burnout when the demands of caring for everyone become overwhelming. And it sometimes struggles with practical application, getting caught up in ideals and feelings over tangible, results-oriented action. It's a beautiful vision of connection, but can sometimes struggle to ground itself in the messy, complex reality of the world and make difficult choices.
Okay. And now, we cross a really significant threshold, don't we? We move from the first tier into the second tier with yellow, or flex flow. This is the systemic VMEMA, and you said it represents a profound leap in consciousness.
It really does. This is the first of the being levels, as opposed to the subsistence levels of the first tier. The core theme here is to live fully and responsibly as what you are, and to continuously learn and become. Life isn't seen as a simple line or a ladder, but as a rich kaleidoscope of natural hierarchies, interconnected systems, and dynamic flows.
A kaleidoscope. That's a great image. So what are the characteristics?
Individuals operating from yellow tend to value existence itself, understanding, and competence over mere material possessions or status. They prioritize flexibility, spontaneity, functionality. Does it work? Becomes a key question.
So knowledge and competence matter more than rank or dogma.
Absolutely. Knowledge and competency supersede rank. Differences aren't just tolerated, they're seen as valuable data points to be integrated into interdependent natural flows. Apparent paradoxes are often understood as just two sides of the same complex truth.
Holding complexity.
Yes, individuals here are highly principled, but profoundly self-directed, driven by an internal logic and understanding of systems rather than external rules or group pressure.
Okay, who exemplifies this? We're talking about minds that can truly hold immense complexity.
Think of the curious, synthesizing mind of someone like Carl Sagan looking at the cosmos, or the organizational genius of Peter Senge applying systems thinking to businesses, Stephen Hawking grappling with the fundamental mysteries of the universe, W. Edwards Deming revolutionizing quality management by seeing the whole system.
It's like having multiple advanced software packages, to use that analogy again, running in your brain simultaneously.
That's a good way to put it. It allows you to not just tolerate, but actively stitch together conflicting VMs from the first tier, solve deep paradoxes, and see how seemingly disparate parts form a healthy, functioning whole. This is where abundance is created not just materially, but conceptually, by identifying the key leverage points in complex systems. The source mentions a park ranger, perhaps later in life after years of observing natural systems, embodying this profound growth.
And yellow has a unique relationship with the first tier VMs.
It does. Yellow is unique in its ability to conceptually enter the worlds of all the first-tier VMs: beige, purple, red, blue, orange, green. Not to judge them as lesser, but to understand their underlying logic, their necessary function, to help make them healthy within their own context, and to reveal their intricate interconnections within the larger spiral.
So they can speak the language of the other levels.
They can understand and interact with them effectively,
Yeah.
and they aren't easily coerced or manipulated because their internal compass, guided by functionality and that systemic understanding, is so incredibly strong, they can see the why behind the what in a way that first-tier thinking often struggles with.
Wow, okay. And finally, at the peak of our exploration for today, we have turquoise, or global view. This is the holistic VMEMA, the second of the second tier, representing perhaps the most expansive human consciousness we can currently describe.
Turquoise's core theme is experiencing the profound wholeness of existence through both mind and spirit. The world isn't just seen as interconnected systems, like in yellow, but is understood and felt as a single, dynamic, interconnected organism with its own collected intelligence, its own energetic flows.
A single organism, like the Gaia hypothesis.
Very much aligned with that, yes. Characteristics include the self being both distinct, a unique, valuable individual, and yet simultaneously blended into a larger, compassionate, cosmic whole. Everything truly connects to everything else in deep ecological alignments. Energy and information are seen as permeating Earth's total environment, this living planet. It's the ultimate macro view, feeling the pulse of the whole.
Where might we see glimpses of this? It sounds quite ethereal.
You might see it reflected in the deep wisdom of certain indigenous healers who understand the profound connection between mind, body, spirit, and nature. Or in some alternative healing systems that genuinely treat the whole person within their environment. It's about embracing the Gaia view, not just intellectually, but feeling it.
It's like the source uses the phrase fine-tuning the music of the spheres.
Exactly. It's embracing incredible complexity, see the hidden patterns within chaos, and seemingly effortlessly connecting inner worlds of consciousness with the outer worlds of nature and humanity.
And it's important, the source stresses that this isn't just New Age fluff, right?
Absolutely crucial point. This is not intended as pseudo-mysticism or magical thinking. It's described as a profound, integrated understanding of knowledge and feeling, built upon all the previous levels, representing the highest level of adaptive complexity discussed in the model today. It's about truly living in conscious harmony with all of existence, recognizing the sacredness and interconnectedness of everything.
What an incredible, colorful journey through the spiral, from raw survival to cosmic unity. And as you, our listener, reflect on these VMs, maybe take a moment to feel into where you spend most of your time, what colors dominate your thinking or the thinking of the groups you interact with.
And remember, this isn't about rigidly labeling people or yourself. It's about understanding the dominant forces, the core operating systems that are at play in various situations.
Right. And that understanding itself is a powerful step towards mastery, towards navigating loves more effectively.
Absolutely.
That guided tour through the VMEs was truly eye-opening. But understanding these different systems, these colors on the spiral, is really just the beginning, isn't it? The spiral is dynamic, it's constantly in motion.
That's right. Nothing stays static for long.
So how do we understand the journey of change itself within this framework? The source material describes a recognizable sequence, a pattern that change often follows. Alpha, beta, gamma, and delta. It's like life's inherent pattern of transformation.
It is. We often begin in ALC8. This is a state of relative balance and congruence. Things feel stable, consistent, the current way of thinking seems to work, everything feels right with the world, more or less.
Comfortable. Maybe even a bit complacent.
Perhaps. But this stability is often illusory, or at least temporary. Beneath the surface, currents are always shifting. Life conditions are changing, preparing for the next shift. It's the calm before the potential storm.
Okay, so alpha is stability, then comes beta. What happens here?
This is where doubts begin to creep in. Things start to feel shaky, the old solutions don't quite fit anymore, frustration starts to build.
That feeling when something's just off.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And our first natural instinct is often to just try more of the same, right? To push harder on the old levers, double down on what used to work.
Yeah, that sounds familiar.
But that frequently just accelerates the movement into deeper beta, often actually worsening the situation. This is where we often see the onset of psychological distress, maybe changes in eating habits, sleep patterns, or the emergence of new, unhealthy coping mechanisms, maybe even addictions start here. We sense the turmoil, but we can't quite grasp its cause yet. It's that gnawing feeling that something isn't right, but you can't quite put your finger on it.
Okay, so beta is shaky ground, instability, things aren't working. What if it gets worse?
If things get bad enough, if beta's anxieties and failures are ignored or can't be resolved with the current mindset, we can move from uneasy beta into chaotic gamma. This is often called the gamma trap.
The gamma trap sounds ominous.
It can be. It's often a state of profound anger, disillusionment, maybe revolution, sometimes outright hopelessness. The denial or confusion of beta gives way to a stark, often brutal recognition of reality. Barriers to change seem insurmountable, and there's a painfully clear vision of just how bad things truly are. It's the breakdown point, the dark night of the soul, perhaps.
And how different VMs react when they hit this gamma trap. That must be really distinct.
Oh, absolutely fascinating and often tragic. Imagine an individual stuck primarily in Beiji, facing overwhelming gamma conditions. They might just curl up, give up, lose the will to live, and perish. The source material mentions historical accounts of San Bushmen who, when imprisoned and their way of life destroyed, would often simply stop eating and fade away.
Wow, that's intense. What about red?
A red-oriented person or group encountering the gamma trap. They might lash out violently, asserting raw power in a desperate, often destructive attempt to regain control or break free. Think riots, rebellions, maybe destructive rage. It's a time of intense emotional and psychological pressure where the underlying VMMs really dictate the nature of the reaction to chaos.
So gamma is the crisis point. Vulnerability, but also potential.
Precisely. This is the moment of greatest vulnerability, yes, but also the moment of greatest potential for breakthrough. Then, if we're fortunate, if the conditions are right, comes delta.
The delta surge. That sounds more hopeful.
It is. This is the vibrant surge, the exhilarating escape from the gamma trap, the movement toward a new system, a new way of thinking. It's often full of the thrill of liberation, the excitement of new possibilities dawning. You've broken through.
Freedom. But wait, the source material warns that the delta surge, while thrilling, is also full of dangers. It's not automatically a happy ending.
That's a critical insight. It's like seeing the grass is greener on the other side, rushing over there, only to find it was spray-painted green. Or you've simply exchanged one tyrant for a bigger, more sophisticated one.
So getting rid of what you don't like isn't the same as getting what you do want.
Exactly. Getting rid of the old problems doesn't automatically mean you've captured the right new solutions. Celebrations can be premature. Without a clear vision and consolidation, you can easily end up trading one set of problems for another, sometimes worse, set.
So the initial surge is just raw energy, it needs direction.
Yes, the initial delta surge is often raw, undirected power. It's not yet consolidated into a stable, functional form. That consolidation occurs in the next phase, the new ALPHA.
Back to ALPHA, but different.
Back to a state of relative stability, yes, but hopefully at a higher, more complex level on the spiral. Here, the hard-won insights and lessons learned through the turmoil of beta, gamma, and delta are integrated. They're brought into a new, healthier balance. Things are once again congruent, stable, all is right with the world, at least for a time.
For a time. Because,
as you might guess, just over the horizon, the next beta condition always awaits. Life conditions continue to change. It's a continuous, open-ended spiral. Like the cycles we see in personal life, change is overcoming a major challenge like a divorce or job loss, finding a new equilibrium, and then eventually facing the next set of challenges that require further growth.
it certainly sounds like a relentless yet patterned cycle of growth and transformation. Never boring, anyway.
Definitely not boring.
So if we want to consciously facilitate positive change, maybe help ourselves or our teams or even communities navigate this cycle more effectively, what are the actual conditions required for a VM to shift, to really make that leap forward onto the next level of the spiral?
Yes. The source outlines 6 conditions for VM change. Understanding these is crucial, almost like having a roadmap for intentional evolution, rather than just being tossed about by the waves of change.
Okay, lay them on us. What's the first condition?
First, there must be potential. The mind, the brain, the system, whatever it is we're looking at, cannot be fundamentally closed.
Closed. Meaning what?
Meaning rigidly resistant to change, like a locked vault, completely impermeable to new information or ways of thinking. It must be either open, genuinely capable of absorbing new information and perspectives, or at least arrested.
Arrested.
Meaning it can absorb new information, has the potential, but it might need significant stimulation, pressure, or support to actually do so. If a system is truly deeply closed, then efforts to change it from the outside will likely be wasted, maybe even destructive. It's like trying to force that square peg into the round hole. You just damage both.
Okay, so you can't force an unwilling or incapable mind or system to change. There has to be at least some capacity or willingness, some openness for it. That makes intuitive sense. What's number 2?
Second is solutions for the current and often previous existence problems. You simply cannot expect sustained change into new, more complex VMME levels if serious unresolved problems still exist within the present state, or even from levels below that.
Handle first things first.
Exactly. Sensible people address first things first. If a basic need for security, say purple E, or fundamental order, BLUE, isn't met, you can't realistically push for higher level transformation like orange innovation or green consensus building. You have to satiate the active, pressing VME needs first.
Right. It's like trying to teach advanced calculus to someone who hasn't mastered basic arithmetic. You need to build on a solid foundation.
Precisely. You can't effectively solve tomorrow's complex problems if today's fundamental needs are overwhelming you.
Makes perfect sense. Okay, third condition.
Dissonance. There must be sufficient uncertainty, chaos, or profound discomfort to destabilize the old ways of thinking and behaving. That beta state needs to become significant enough.
Things have to get uncomfortable enough to motivate change.
Yes. When the old solutions fail abjectly, repeatedly, and sometimes painfully to solve the problems presented by the new life conditions, That deep sense of failure creates a vacuum. It stimulates fresh thinking and effectively liberates the next VM-EM along the spiral to emerge and offer new, potentially more adaptive solutions. That discomfort is the engine of change.
That's that profound feeling of, this just isn't working anymore, and I have no idea why, but I know I can't keep going like this. And out of that fertile ground of chaos, that dissonance, something genuinely new can emerge.
Which leads directly to the fourth condition, insight. This is the eureka moment, the sudden flash of clarity where alternatives suddenly appear and a new direction, a new way of seeing things becomes visible.
The light bulb goes on.
Exactly. It's a fundamental breakthrough in understanding both the nature of the old problems and the exhilarating possibilities of the new solutions offered by the emerging VM-EM. Without this aha moment, this cognitive leap, sustainable change is highly unlikely to take root. You need to see the alternative.
We all yearn for those moments of insight, don't we? That sudden clarity. Okay, number 5.
Barriers. These are the obstacles, both visible and invisible, external and internal, that make change difficult, sometimes seemingly impossible. They must first be recognized, no more denial, no more pretending they don't exist, and identified concretely.
Face the obstacles head on.
Yes, and then they must be dealt with, either eliminated entirely, bypassed somehow, neutralized, or perhaps reframed so they no longer hold the same power.
And the source mentions the biggest barriers are often internal.
Often, yes. The greatest barriers are frequently those of our own making, our internal Krell monsters, as the source calls them, referencing the classic sci-fi film Forbidden Planet.
Krell monsters?
Yeah, where the invisible monster terrorizing the planet was actually generated unconsciously from the deepest fears and repressed desires of one of the inhabitants. Our own thoughts, fears, assumptions, limiting beliefs, these can create the very obstacles we face. And just like the monster in the movie, our anger and resistance towards these internal barriers often only make them stronger.
Wow. So recognizing them for what they are, often internal projections, is the key first step to dismantling them. We have to fight the enemy within as much as, or maybe even more than, the enemy without.
It often seems that way. It's our own internal resistance, our attachment to old ways, even when they don't work, that frequently holds us back the most.
Okay.
Powerful stuff. And finally, the 6th condition for VM change.
Consolidation. There must be robust support for the new thinking and behaviors once they emerge. Change, especially profound VME level change, is volatile and vulnerable in its early stages. It's like a seedling.
Needs nurturing.
Exactly. It requires a period of reconnection, reinforcement, practice, and adjustment, both individual and organizationally. Without this ongoing support, whether it's establishing new habits, creating new reinforcing structures, finding a supportive community, getting coaching, the newly emerged VME can be undermined, wither away, and the system may regress back to the old familiar, even if dysfunctional patterns.
So the change needs to stick. It needs reinforcement to become the new normal, the new ALPHA. Precisely. These 6 conditions, potential, solutions, dissonance, insight, barriers, and consolidation, are seen as paramount for any true, sustainable, vertical change on the spiral. They ensure the change isn't just a temporary fluctuation, but a genuine evolutionary step.
This framework isn't just theoretical then. It has profound implications for leadership, doesn't it? It gives us a whole new way to understand what makes truly effective leaders, especially in times of change. The source calls them spiral wizards. That's quite a name. They seem to possess a unique form of mastery.
Absolutely. Spiral wizards are described as those truly special people with the insight, the unique powers, the skills that really transcend the common understanding of leadership. They don't just manage, they transform.
Where do they tend to show up?
They typically emerge or become most visible in times of profound crisis and rapid change. They often inhabit the edges, the cusps, the verges, the divides, where old patterns are breaking down and new forms are struggling to emerge. They are, in essence, the alchemists of VMs.
Alchemists, turning lead into gold, or maybe chaos into coherence.
Something like that. Able to transmute stale, stuck systems into shining, vibrant opportunities for growth and adaptation.
They sound like modern-day Merlins guiding us through complexity. So what are some of their key abilities, the things that really set them apart? What's in their wizard toolkit?
Okay, firstly, spiral wizards understand the cusps between VMs. They grasp that a new VM doesn't just erase the old one, it emerges from it, transcends it, but also includes its healthy aspects. It exists alongside it in complex ways.
So they see the layers.
Yes. Think of President Ronald Reagan, as mentioned in the source material. He resonated successfully with both the traditional, patriotic, duty-focused Bluey worldview that was strong in America and the individualistic, entrepreneurial, success-oriented Orange worldview.
He spoke to both.
Exactly. He might have made little sense to someone operating primarily from Green, with its focus on egalitarianism and community, but he reigned successfully over the end of that Blue-Orange Cold War era by speaking directly to and arguably through both of those dominant VMs. He gave both a sense of purpose and opportunity within his narrative. He knew how to engage the core operating systems of his audience.
That's a powerful insight. They're not just speaking to people, they're speaking through the VMs that are active and alive in those people. It's about deep resonance, not just rhetoric.
Precisely. Secondly, these wizards live and work within natural flows and rhythms. They don't try to fight the tide, they learn to ride it. They accept the inherent flows within both chaos-driven periods and more orderly, structured timetables.
So they understand timing.
They understand timing, and they understand that there are natural seasons of stability and predictable periods of profound transformation and turbulence. They see the underlying currents and adjust their sails accordingly. Rather than trying to force a static outcome onto a dynamic reality, they work with the energy, not against it.
And they also seem to have this uncanny ability to spot problems or potential problems that others might completely miss.
Yes. Thirdly, they are incredibly adept at detecting deep rubs. These are subtle mismatches, points of friction, misfitness among different VMs within a system. Spiral wizards often detect these rubs initially, long before their impacts become painfully obvious to everyone else.
Like a doctor spotting an early symptom.
Or, the source uses the analogy of a skilled chiropractor adjusting the junctures of bones in a spine. Spiral wizards can sense where the VMA flows in the dynamic spiral are blocked or misaligned. They can help sort out and adjust these flows, bringing things back into a healthier, more harmonious alignment, preventing deeper systemic pain or breakdown down the line.
Which means they have to be incredibly adaptable in their own thinking, too. They can't be stuck in just one VME themselves, right?
Oh, absolutely not. That's the fourth key ability. Spiral wizards interact comfortably with many conceptual worlds. They deeply respect the integrity and the necessary function of each VME. They aren't impeded by artificial separations like academic disciplines or organizational departments or cultural boundaries.
They see the connections.
They move fluidly, almost effortlessly, between different ways of thinking, different value systems. They remain profoundly resourceful, experimental, and pragmatic. They aren't held back by rigid ideologies or boundaries. They see connections and potential integrations where others see only divisions or conflict. They see the entire chessboard, not just their own pieces or their own preferred strategy.
That's a true master strategist, a systems thinker. What else sets them apart in their mastery?
Fifth, and this is absolutely crucial, they are systemic thinkers and integrative problem solvers. Their minds are naturally configured to see processes, emergent patterns, flowing interconnections. They build a holistic understanding of complex problems.
So they don't go for the quick fixes.
No, they tend to reject simple cause and effect links, or merely cosmetic, surface-level quick fixes. Instead, they search for the critical leverage points. The source calls them the one or two critical logs that lock up the logjam.
The key blockage.
Exactly. The precise pressure points that, once addressed, can release the entire system and allow genuine healthy flow to resume. They recognize that things like, say, generic quality programs or top-down re-engineering initiatives often fail precisely because they don't factor in the full complex range of human emotions, needs, motivations, and crucially, the VMA relationships within the system. They get to the root of the issue, the systemic cause, not just the symptoms.
So they're not just fixing symptoms, they're diagnosing and treating the root cause within the human system itself.
Powerful. And speaking of human dynamics, the source mentions something called POA, politeness, openness, and autocracy. These apply to everyone, not just leaders, right? They sound like universal protocols for healthy interaction across the spiral. That's absolutely correct. These are described as universal protocols, essential competencies for managing human dynamics effectively across the entire spiral, whether you're interacting in a family, a small team, a large organization, or even a nation.
Okay, let's break them down. First, politeness. This isn't just about saying please and thank you, is it?
No, it's much deeper than superficial manners, though those can be part of it. Politeness here means being genuinely civil, authentically empathetic, firm but fair. Above all, it's about respecting others as human beings, recognizing their inherent worth and their potential for development, regardless of their current VMEM expression.
So it's not that fuzzy, maybe overly sensitive, green, let's all just get along vibe.
No, it's more fundamental. It's about decency, active listening, showing genuine interest, being appropriate in different contexts, truly seeing the other person, and affording them basic dignity.
Okay. Treating others with dignity, regardless of their VME or station. Makes sense. Then there's openness. What does that entail?
Openness means being communicative, straightforward, and authentic in your interactions. It implies that knowledge flows freely. Critical information is accessible to those who need it to do their jobs or make informed decisions, and there are very few hidden agendas or psychological games being played.
What you see is what you get.
Largely, yes. What is said is what is meant, whether it's good news or bad news. It's about transparency, integrity, and honesty in communication, building trust through clarity.
Okay. And finally, autocracy. Now, this one might sound a little jarring given its common usage. It makes you think of dictators. But the source insists it's not about authoritarianism in the traditional sense, is it? We're definitely not talking about absolute arbitrary power here.
No, not at all, and it's absolutely vital to clarify this distinction because the word itself can be triggering. Autocracy in this POA context refers to the right, and indeed the responsibility, to command or to make decisive choices when necessary. But crucially, it's fundamentally competence-based decision-making.
Based on expertise, not just position.
Exactly. It's about ensuring the health and effective functioning of the overall spiral, the whole system. It involves mobilizing resources effectively, setting clear direction, and making necessary decisions from a place of deep knowledge, wisdom, experience, and responsibility for the collective good, not from arbitrary power, personal ego, or political maneuvering. It's the firm, guiding hand of expertise and systemic understanding taking appropriate action.
Okay, so it's decisiveness rooted in competence and responsibility for the whole.
Yes, and when these three competencies, politeness, openness, and this specific kind of autocracy, are kept intact and in balance, they allow leadership, and indeed anyone, to effectively engage with and shape the VMEs within any system, leading towards true mastery of human dynamics.
Fascinating. And this framework, this way of thinking, also extends beyond individual interactions and leadership styles right into how we actually design organizations, doesn't it? The source talks about dynamic templates for building responsive, thriving systems, not rigid org charts.
Yes, spiral integration, particularly drawing from the second tier thinking of yellow and turquoise, introduces three dynamic templates for organizational design: X, Y, and Z. And you're right, these aren't meant to be rigid, permanent cutouts or silos. They're conceived as organic, living layers that fuse, stretch, and adjust dynamically, like interdependent layers of skin responding to the environment.
Layers of skin. I like that image. Flexible, adaptive.
Exactly. They're designed to accommodate the full spectrum of human VMs found within the organization and to respond fluidly and effectively to changing life conditions in the marketplace or the wider world.
Okay, so what's the X template? What's its core function?
The X template is all about the job to be done. It focuses entirely on the work itself. It involves the meticulous scripting, charting, and continuous improvement of the entire workflow, from alpha to omega, meaning from the initial suppliers of information, energy, and raw materials, all the way through the internal processes to the ultimate satisfaction of the end customers or users.
So mapping the whole value stream.
Precisely. But here's a key difference from traditional approaches. Job layouts and processes are often decided by a few experts at the top and then handed down. In second-tier spiral thinking, applied through the X template, everyone who is actually involved in that process, from the ground level up, participates actively in the initial pattern making, the design, and the ongoing continuous improvement of that workflow.
That sounds truly collaborative, empowering those closest to the actual work.
Absolutely. It's about building in responsiveness, quality, and efficiency at every single step, leveraging the intelligence distributed throughout the system.
Can you give us a concrete example of this X template in action? Where have we seen this kind of thinking work?
Certainly. The source material points to examples like Toyota's renowned product development systems, like their Global 10 and Global 12 visions. Here, everyone involved, from assembly line technicians right up to top engineers, contributed collaboratively to designing entire new families of cars simultaneously, not sequentially.
Integrating all the perspectives early on.
Exactly. Similarly, Ford's famous Team Taurus project back in the day integrated purchasing, design, engineering, quality assurance, even legal inputs into a simultaneous design process. The results were significant cost savings, vastly improved quality metrics, and a much faster time to market compared to traditional methods.
Any other examples?
Yes. General Motors' Saturn division, when it was first launched, was famously designed from the ground up by a joint committee of management and union members, ensuring deep buy-in and practical, grounded understanding from the very start. Companies like British Airways, during its turnaround, New York Telephone, Motorola, Federal Express, Intel. Many successful adaptive companies have intuitively used variations of this X-template philosophy, focusing intensely on optimizing the end-to-end workflow and being deeply responsive to the customer experience.
Okay, so X is the direct workflow itself, making sure the product or service gets done efficiently, with high quality, involving everyone. What about the Y template then? What role does it play in this ecosystem?
The Y template focuses on management and support. This includes all the people, the systems, the resources that support, facilitate, assist, and enhance the X-template procedures and performance.
So everything that enables the core work to happen smoothly.
Exactly. A healthy Y template is designed to be flexible, lean, apolitical, and crucially, it must demand and embody those POA principles we just discussed: politeness, openness, and competence-based autocracy in all its dealings. It changes and reconstitutes itself dynamically as the needs of the X-template evolve.
So it serves the work, not the other way around.
Precisely. This is where you integrate conventional management functions, supervision, strategic resource allocation, motivation systems, information systems, but always with an eye to supporting the overall spiral health of the organization and accommodating its various active VMEs. It's the agile, responsive backbone that ensures the X-template can operate smoothly and effectively without getting bogged down in unnecessary bureaucracy or internal politics.
Okay, so if X is the direct work and Y is the agile support system making sure that work can happen effectively, then there's the Z template. This sounds like the central intelligence, the brain of the operation.
The Z template is indeed where the command intelligences reside, as the source puts it. This is the executive core, the entity that monitors the entire process, the interplay of X and Y, and the organization's fit within its larger environment. It functions much like the central processing unit, CPU, in a high-performing computer system.
Who sits in the Z template? The top executives.
It's typically a small group, chosen not just for rank, but for exceptional competence, broad experience, profound maturity, and crucially, the ability to think systemically across the whole spiral. They should represent a microcosm of the diverse intelligences needed to coordinate the X and Y templates effectively and maintain a vigilant, strategic lookout for the organization's thriving in its broader dynamic context.
So it's the brain making high-level strategic decisions, scanning the horizon.
Yes, but it's more dynamic than just that. The Z template also actively brings focused intelligences to bear on specific problems or opportunities through specialized environments or task forces. The source gives some colorful examples.
Like what?
Like maybe a wild duck pond, a protected space where nonconformists, the creative mavericks, can explore potentially off-the-wall innovative ideas without the usual constraints or immediate pressure for results. Or a nursery environment where promising neophytes can gain exposure to complex, high-level problem-solving under mentorship.
Interesting. Creating different spaces for different kinds of thinking.
Exactly. There might be a war room, a physical or virtual space displaying vital company signs, real-time data dashboards, competitor intelligence, allowing for rapid, informed tactical decisions. Or even a playpen, a space designed for creative renewal, brainstorming, out-of-the-box thinking, fostering psychological safety for experimentation.
So in these Z-level functions, competence trumps rank.
Absolutely. It's where knowledge, diverse skills, and informed perspectives should transcend traditional rank or departmental silos in decision-making, allowing the best ideas and the most effective strategies to rise to the surface, regardless of where they originate. Think of General Schwarzkopf and his core command staff during Operation Desert Storm, that's given as an example of a Z template in action.
Oh, so?
They operated with a highly unified command and control structure, Z, that allowed for clear strategic direction, but also enabled highly decentralized, autonomous decision-making by competent commanders in the field, within X and Y, all while maintaining macro-level coherence and adapting rapidly to battlefield changes.
That's a powerful image of integrated command and flexibility. It sounds like these templates, X, Y, and Z, working together in synergy, allow organizations to become truly adaptive, to morph and adjust quickly.
That's the goal, to truly integrate people, technology, and procedures in a dynamic, flowing way. It's about moving beyond the rigid, often brittle hierarchies of the past towards more fluid, resilient, responsive structures that can actually master complexity in a rapidly changing world. It's organizational design informed by the deep wisdom of the spiral.
This understanding of VMs, the dynamics of change, leadership, even organizational design, it isn't confined to just individuals or companies, is it? It has profound and sometimes deeply unsettling implications for global affairs, too. We are living through what the source material calls global awakenings, a period characterized by both incredible connection and opportunity, but also profound chaos and conflict.
Absolutely. The current global turbulence, what some might describe as millennium hysteria back around Y2K, or the constant overwhelming information overload we face now, or seeing these deep, grinding tectonic plates of thought colliding, it reverberates deeply across geopolitics, international relations, race relations, global business, environmental issues, everything.
It feels different than past eras, doesn't it? More interconnected, more immediate.
Dramatically so. In the past, physical distance and limited communication might have insulated us, to some extent, from conflicts or crises happening on the other side of the world. Now, partly due to technology, when one place is upset, that vibration, that dissonance, reverberates globally almost instantly. Within the hour, sometimes within seconds via social media, we're all feeling the tremors.
It's like these different core ways of thinking, these different VMs embodied by nations or cultures or movements, are clashing much more visibly now, creating those deep rubs you mentioned earlier, but on a global scale, sometimes erupting into major surface quakes that redraw national boundaries and rewrite futures.
Exactly. We see the world's underlying VMs manifesting constantly on the global stage. We see these clashes manifest as flashpoints.
Flashpoints.
Crises caused by collisions between different VMs vying for overlapping niches, resources, or ideological dominance. Like, say, purple tribal loyalties clashing fiercely with incoming orange economic aspirations and exploitation in parts of Africa. Or sometimes you see conflicts between groups with similar VM profiles, maybe two strongly BLUE dominant ideologies, clashing violently because their specific belief contents are mutually exclusive, even if their way of thinking is similar.
And we also see regressions, societies moving backwards down the spiral.
Unfortunately, yes. We observe regressions where an entire entity, a nation or a region, spirals downward in complexity and stability in response to worsening life conditions, economic collapse, war, environmental disaster. This was tragically evidenced in places like the Balkans in the 1990s, where ancient red power struggles and purple ethnic hatreds, long suppressed under a BLUE communist regime, reemerged with absolutely devastating force.
It truly is a polyglot world, isn't it? Incredibly diverse, complex, interconnected in some ways, but not yet truly interdependent in a healthy, harmonious way.
Not yet. Still very fragmented, often driven by first-tier survival and identity needs.
And the Cold War. Looking back, it feels like this huge, monolithic conflict that defined the world. But the source suggests it actually masked some of these deeper, older VME issues. It wasn't the only game in town, even then.
That's a very insightful point from the spiral perspective. The Cold War was, in many ways, an arrested state globally. It was largely a grand conflict contained within specific red power struggles, BLE, ideological certainty, patriotism, and orange, economic competition, technological race, belief systems, and containers.
A battle between BLU ideologies, essentially. Communism versus democratic capitalism.
Primarily, yes, with strong red and orange components layered on. But this dominant conflict laid down a thick sheet of ideological ice, if you will, that artificially covered over many deeper, older ethnic conflicts, simmering nationalistic ambitions, historical grievances, and revenge-driven agendas rooted often in purple and red dynamics.
So when the Cold War ended, when the Berlin Wall fell,
once that ideological ice melted with the fall of the Iron Curtain, those ancient conflicts, those deeper, more primal VMs, resurfaced with shocking, often violent force. Think Yugoslavia, Chechnya, parts of Africa. The world was left scrambling to understand why things were falling apart, often because the dominant blue-orange lens couldn't adequately grasp the power of the resurgent purple and red forces.
Let's look at some of these real-world case studies, as the source calls them, to see these VMs playing out on a global scale. It really helps bring this framework to life, starting with the continent of Africa.
Africa presents many complex examples. We've often seen situations where the core purple, strong tribal clannish loyalties, and red-green raw power dynamics, warlords elements, were trapped within artificial BLUE national boundaries. These boundaries were often imposed by colonial European powers with little regard for the existing ethnic or tribal realities on the ground.
So mismatched systems were forced together.
Yes, creating a kind of developmental short circuit. This mismatch has often led to cycles of exploitation, instability, military coups, brutal civil wars, and terrible humanitarian crises. The necessary, perhaps internally generated BOE authority needed to stabilize the purple loyalties and contain the red power struggles, and thus pave the way for more stable orange enterprise to emerge organically, was often missing or externally imposed without a solid foundation. This frequently led to further instability rather than healthy development of the spiral.
Okay, what about the Middle East? A region that seems to be a perpetual boiling mix of tensions and complexities.
The Middle East is described as a complex, almost volatile stew of VMs. You have deep purple feudal residues, ancient tribal structures and loyalties, perhaps dating back to the breakup of the Ottoman Empire, often percolating just beneath the surface of modern nation-states.
Layers upon layers.
Exactly. Overlaid with the profound impact of orange Western ventures, historical imperialism, modern corporations seeking resources like oil, introducing Western economic models, and then fiercely competing red authoritarian power plays, and blue E, deeply held, often mutually exclusive religious and political ideologies, zealotry vying for dominance.
So negotiations there must be incredibly complex.
Extremely. Negotiators trying to broker peace or facilitate progress in such regions need a profound understanding of these underlying VM levels. Conflicts can occur on multiple dimensions simultaneously between different VMs, say blue E, religious authority versus orange secular modernizers, and within similar ones, like different factions within blue E Islam. Trying to apply a simplistic single VM solution, like assuming everyone just wants orange economic prosperity, is almost certainly bound to fail because it misses the power of the deeper purple, red, and blue E drivers.
That explains a lot of failed peace initiatives, perhaps? Okay, shifting gears, what about Singapore? It's often held up as a success story, but a controversial one. How does Spiral Dynamics view it?
Singapore is presented as a fascinating and, yes, often debated case study of what might be called soft blue E authoritarianism. It has arguably effectively dealt with potentially strong purple ethnic diversity, potential for communal friction, and red, potential for chaos, crime elements, through strong centralized blue E control.
Creating order through discipline.
Yes, creating a stable, orderly second world transition stage that has allowed for the vigorous emergence of orange thinking and enterprise. It's an object of both curiosity and criticism for its unique blend of open, competitive economics, meticulous social engineering, and quite authoritarian politics. But from a purely developmental perspective within the spiral framework, it demonstrates how a strong blue E system can bring order out of potential third-world chaos and foster incredible orange economic growth by instilling disciplined values like hard work, education, low corruption, and collective responsibility.
An engineered path up the spiral, in a way. Okay. And Russia, a vast nation struggling to find its footing after decades of Soviet rule. It seems to be oscillating wildly sometimes.
Russia is seen as grappling with the profound legacy of really 1,000 years of red empires, the Tsars, followed by decades of below-orange communism, ideological certainty mixed with state-driven industrial goals, now trying to leap developmental stages almost overnight into a modern, globalized capitalist system.
That sounds like a recipe for turbulence.
It has been. The source suggests that simply trying to impose Western, particularly American models from the 1980s and 90s, often heavily driven by orange competitive values and assumptions, is largely out of phase with Russia's actual developmental needs and historical trajectory.
So what would a spiral wizard see?
A spiral wizard, looking at the situation, might immediately recognize that Russia arguably needs to solidify its Carnegie's and Ford's first meaning, build the foundational BLE structures of reliable law, property rights, civic institutions, basic industrial discipline before it can truly embrace and healthily integrate the more expressive, consumer-driven, high-finance aspects of a mature, orange-dominated economy, represented by figures like Trump's and Eisner's. You can't build a stable skyscraper roof before the foundations and basic structure are solidly in place. Trying to leapfrog stages often leads to instability and unhealthy manifestations of the higher VMs, like crony capitalism or oligarchic red power grabs dressed in orange clothes.
That makes a lot of sense. Moving further east, what about Japan and China? Two economic giants, but with vastly different internal dynamics and approaches.
Japan's incredible post-war economic success is often attributed, from a spiral perspective, largely to its deeply ingrained sacrificial VMEs, particularly a strong purple emphasis on group harmony, loyalty, and collective effort, fused with a powerful blue sense of duty, discipline, and adherence to process. Think quality circles, lifetime employment traditions.
But that's changing now.
Yes, These deeply embedded sacrificial values were over me are now being significantly challenged by emerging expressive VMs, particularly red assertions of individuality and orange desires for more personal freedom, career mobility, and consumerism, especially among the younger generation. This is creating significant social and economic tensions as traditional values clash with modern aspirations.
And China.
China presents a different picture. A massive, highly effective BLUE authoritarian political system that has maintained stability and control while strategically unleashing and managing an immense emerging orange drive for enterprise, trade, and material gain, particularly in its coastal and southern provinces. This creates fascinating internal tensions between central control and individual ambition, but it's also generated unprecedented economic power on the global stage. It's a unique blend of BLUE structure enabling orange energy, at least for now.
And finally, looking towards what might be considered the leading edge of the spiral in terms of societal development. Nations like Scandinavia, Canada, the Netherlands. They seem to be charting a different course, perhaps offering a glimpse of the future.
These nations are often seen in the spiral framework as having made early and relatively successful excursions into the green worldview. They typically exhibit strong communitarian values, robust social safety nets, a deep emphasis on human rights, environmentalism, and consensus-based decision-making.
But they're not stopping at green.
While they face their own economic and social challenges related to green, like managing integration or avoiding stagnation, they're increasingly seen as evolving toward the second tier. They are showing nascent but growing elements of yellow systemic thinking and even turquoise holistic awareness as they grapple with more complex global issues, internal diversity, the limits of traditional welfare states, and developing a more integrated, systemic understanding of well-being that goes beyond just green sensitivity. They appear to be pioneering the next stage of collective human development on the spiral.
This global scan paints a truly dynamic, complex, and at times quite unsettling picture of our world. All these different VMs swirling and colliding, it really makes you wonder, what is the next global order? Where is humanity heading? Our mentor figure in this work, the brilliant Claire Graves, offered a profound insight on this way back in 1974 that feels more relevant, more urgent than ever today.
Yes, it's quite prescient. Graves believed, even then, that humanity was negotiating its most difficult, yet simultaneously most exciting and most perilous transition in its entire history. He laid out three distinct, stark possibilities for our collective future, depending fundamentally on the choices we make, the VMs we manage to activate and integrate.
Okay, what was the first possibility? The bleakest one.
The first and most gruesome was a massive regression, catastrophic collapse back towards our Stone Age beginnings, a real Humpty Dumpty splattering, as Graves vividly put it.
What could cause that?
If we fail collectively to stabilize our world's weapons of mass destruction, our endangered critical resources, our spiraling environmental degradation. This is the nightmare scenario where modern complexity collapses under its own weight, triggering a downward spiral into primal, desperate, beleaguered survival modes, the ultimate global gamma trap, from which there might be no easy delta surge back up.
Chilling. Okay, what was the second possibility? Only slightly less frightening, perhaps?
He envisioned a grim fixation, a potential lock-in, at a kind of unhealthy blend of first-tier systems. Specifically, a blue-orange-green, tyrannical and manipulative 1984 scenario.
Our 1984? Orwellian control.
Yes. A world glossed over by humanitarian-sounding rhetoric, politically correct doublethink, and seemingly benevolent green sensitivity, but underneath, rigidly controlled by blue-Louis authoritarian structures and manipulated by orange strategic power for the benefit of a few. This, Graves warned, was a very real possibility if you couldn't healthily integrate the conflicting drives for order, BLUE, achievement, orange, and compassion, green, and instead allowed them to curdle into a form of sophisticated high-tech oppression.
So an outwardly nice or progressive system that actually masks deep systemic control and manipulation, that's also deeply unsettling. But there was a third, and for me, a much more hopeful possibility he saw.
Absolutely. The third possibility was the emergence into the second tier, primarily the yellow level of systemic thinking, on a significant global scale. This wouldn't be a utopia, but it would represent a fundamentally different approach to global governance, to business, to society itself.
How so? What would that look like?
It would be an approach capable of truly stabilizing the world, managing resources sustainably, and creating conditions where all forms of life, reflecting the diversity of the spiral itself, could continue to thrive. It means thinking globally and acting locally, yes, but simultaneously acting globally based on systemic understanding while planning locally based on specific needs and conditions. It requires a truly different world, and crucially, a very different, integrated, flexible, systemic way of thinking, one capable of holding the paradoxes, leveraging the strengths of all the VMEs, and designing solutions that work for the whole spiral.
What a powerful and hopeful thought to leave us with. It truly highlights the immense stakes involved in understanding and navigating these deep human dynamics.
Spiral dynamics, then, isn't just an academic exercise or a fascinating psychological theory. It provides us with, potentially, the profound wisdom, the practical toolkit, the navigational chart, to consciously steer towards that third possibility. It helps us understand the various worldviews that clash and coexist around us and within us, to see the deeper drivers of human behavior, individual and collective, and most importantly, to design and apply solutions that genuinely fit the underlying VMs at play, rather than imposing solutions from one level onto problems arising from another.
The choice of our future, which possibility we collectively step into, is ultimately up to us, armed, hopefully, with this kind of deeper knowledge and understanding. It's truly an invitation to develop our own mastery.
It absolutely is an invitation and perhaps an urgent necessity.
What an incredible journey we've taken today through the spiral of human progress. We've peeled back so many layers, haven't we? From the most basic primal survival instincts of beige right up to the potential for global, holistic consciousness in turquoise.
We really covered a lot of ground. We saw how these VMs dictate how we think, the underlying operating system, not just what we believe on the surface, and how they dynamically brighten and dim based on our changing life conditions.
Yeah, and we traced that dynamic pendulum swing between me and we focus across the levels. We understood how VMs don't just replace each other, but coexist and blend within us, creating our own unique internal mix.
And we explored those distinct, profound tiers of human development, the subsistence levels of the first tier, getting us established, and the being levels of the second tier, offering pathways to manage complexity and find deeper meaning.
And we've only just scratched the surface, really, of how this powerful framework applies to navigating personal transformation, that alpha, beta, gamma, delta cycle, to developing truly effective leadership, the spiral wizards, and even to understanding the grand turbulence and potential of our global landscape.
It truly is a powerful lens, a way to view the world and indeed yourself with potentially much greater clarity and compassion. It moves us beyond simplistic one-size-fits-all solutions to address the core human dynamics at play, whether you're trying to understand a recurring family disagreement,
Or a difficult corporate merger,
or navigate a personal crisis.
or even make sense of a complex geopolitical flashpoint you see on the news.
It offers a path, maybe not an easy one, but a path towards greater clarity, effectiveness, and maybe even wisdom.
So here's a final thought for you, our listener, to take away and perhaps play with. As you move through your day, maybe tomorrow, start to really observe with this spiral lens in mind. Who are you seeing operating primarily from a purpley conspirates perspective, perhaps prioritizing group safety, loyalty, and tradition above all else?
Or maybe you'll spot someone exhibiting strong already power god energy, focused on immediate gratification, asserting dominance, maybe testing boundaries.
Perhaps you'll notice the clear, structured rules and should-nots of blue thinking, or the ambitious, competitive drive of orange seeking success and the best outcome, or the sensitive, empathetic embrace of green, striving for connection and harmony.
And just ask yourself, how might understanding their likely underlying VME help you navigate that interaction differently? Could you choose a more appropriate communication style? Could you frame a suggestion or offer a solution in a way that truly resonates with their deepest motivational system, their core way of seeing the world? Imagine the possibilities for smoother interactions, for more effective collaboration, for deeper understanding.
Keep observing these patterns, these colors of the spiral in your own life, in your relationships, in your workplace, and in the world around you. The more you recognize them, not as rigid boxes, but as dynamic energies,
The more equipped you become to respond effectively, empathetically, and strategically to the complex, beautiful, and sometimes incredibly chaotic spiral of human existence. This knowledge isn't just for intellectual understanding, it's really a practical tool for action, for contributing to a healthier spiral in your own sphere of influence.
Thanks for listening to The Heart of Mastery. We hope this deep exploration has given you a fresh perspective, maybe sparked some insights, and provided a powerful new tool for understanding the magnificent, ongoing spiral of human progress. Until next time, keep digging deeper into the heart of what makes us human.